The National Heritage Partnership Plan between the Lewis and Clark Discovery Expedition of St. Charles, Missouri and National Park Service sets forth a vision for the future. The mission of the Lewis and Clark Discovery Expedition of St. Charles is to provide a living history experience as well as museum experiences that promote the education and study of our nation's cultural and natural heritage, centering on the period of Lewis and Clark during 1803 to 1806. The vision of the Lewis and Clark Discovery Expedition of St. Charles is to become a premier resource to educate youth and adults across the nation as well as internationally on the conservation, period life skills, and history of Lewis and Clark. This vision includes a national Lewis and Clark Center for Interpretive Studies that includes a Lewis and Clark Library and Resource Center, new world-class museum exhibits, as well as an event center space for private and corporate events. The background of the Lewis and Clark Discovery Expedition of St. Charles is multifaceted. It is a respected national and international organization with over 20 years of a successful track record educating the public. It also includes the Lewis and Clark Museum and Boathouse with 3 boats that are on the banks of the wild Missouri River. The boats have been recognized in both domestic and international films, and because of this, the fleet of boats is in the best condition ever. The museum and traveling museums host thousands of visitors and school groups each year, and the group has a membership of 200 plus reenactors and supporters. There is a new foundation, the Discovery Expedition of St. Charles, Missouri, as well as new educational initiatives that are gaining support with the help of like-minded strategic partners. The goals of the Lewis and Clark Discovery Expedition of St. Charles, Missouri would be to develop a traveling museum for the history and discoveries of Lewis and Clark. We would also include a short film series to be used for education, outreach, and fundraising. This would allow us to have a traveling museum that could be used at numerous public events along the Lewis and Clark Trail. In addition, it would create historic awareness and interest along the river corridors. The short film series would have many uses, and we would focus on the subjects of the journals as well as the stories of the critical personas of the expedition. In the past, our key performance indicators have included museum visitors and event visitors. In 2018, there were a total of over 30,000 visitors, including people from all 50 states and 43 different countries. We also looked at our living history event visitors, which included 250,000 visitors at over 11. The future key performance indicators are to judge our impact. This includes the number of long-distance learning. This would include 800,000 visitors and increase the number of school districts to 800, the number of subscriptions to our newsletter and video series to 2,000, as well as the number of visitors to our traveling museum that we would expect to reach 100,000 people from 100 groups. And our living history events would continue to increase to 300,000 visitors from 15 events. Currently, our target market groups include school groups, travel groups, and history aficionados. While increasing these, we would also look to educators, parents, sportsman groups, church groups, and social media to increase our audience. Our strategic partnership plan includes working with the Lewis and Clark Trail Heritage Foundation, National Park Service, and Falls of the Ohio Museum and Interpretive Center. This is because we share common goals: education for children and adults, immersion experiences for them, reaching a broader audience, and highlighting the legacy and history of Lewis and Clark. Our educational model includes distance learning because it is scalable. This includes an educational program with videos, 6 to be created each year. We would also include live video conferencing with experienced certified living history storytellers. They would present at different areas of importance along the river, in cabins, forts, and on the boats. We would also include for teachers a specimen and samples kit that could be loaned for class use. This would provide a show and tell real experience in addition to the virtual experience. We would also provide worksheets and teacher notes and topic extension suggestions such as field trips and Lewis and Clark Museum visits. We would also include in our educational model immersion experiences for children and adults. This would include school program expansions in the states along the Lewis and Clark Trail. We would also include a field trip program tied to opportunities in our long-distance learning. The festival and events would also include hands-on experiences and classes in addition to the current show and tell. The Lewis and Clark Adventure Immersion Experience for kids would be continued, and the Lewis and Clark training in primitive life skills for adult recruits would happen throughout the Midwest. The first one is planned for January 4th and 5th, 2020 in Camp Du Bois. To broaden our audience exposure, we would increase our strategic partner co-branding with trail and park events, river events, and special invitations to DSEC events. We would market to new groups and cross-promote other opportunities at events. This would allow us to increase our email list. The next steps in our distance learning program include developing the components, the films, kit, worksheets, and teacher notes that will achieve the objectives for grades 4, 5, and 6. We also plan to create the 9 Young Men from Kentucky film short for Falls of the Ohio Interpretive Center, as well as other film shorts. In addition, we plan a marketing campaign to market the distance learning to educators, after-school programs, and gifted programs. We're also looking at our immersion experiences and the partnerships needed with home and school programs. We also want to host the Lewis and Clark Primitive Life Skill Training for adult recruits January 4th and 5th, 2020 at Camp Du Bois. In addition, we will have other events along the Lewis and Clark Trail. To broaden our audience exposure, we want to host Lewis and Clark Days at parks and venues along the trail. We also want to increase our youth audience with summer schools, park and rec programs, and enrichment programs. We plan a Cub Scout level badge at the Scout Merit Badge University. We also want to hold more outdoor days near river communities and tie into the newly signed Missouri History Month in November. This will allow us to build museum traffic and interest on our river events. We'd also like to post information and our schedule of events on the associated websites and the related social media, and we will continue our drip marketing campaign with our schedule of upcoming events and learning opportunities. Lewis and Clark, the National Park Service, and the DSEC organization have great heritages. Together, this vision can become a reality. We thank you.